Hello and welcome to Paint the Edges with your hosts James Mack and James Thayer. If the last one was on YouTube, which I'm not 100% sure or confident to be, I don't think you are either, and I don't think any of us are. At the end of the day, between the three Jameses, there is 10% confidence in the fact that it went up on YouTube. So there's a possibility that this is the first one. But if you did, you've got to know that, like, the shitstorm that was behind me is not there anymore. Look at that! Like, whole room's organized. Got the shelves in the corner over there. What I'm trying to reiterate. What I'm really trying to point out, though, that happened in a very short space of time. So we are 2 days post that podcast, not a week as we usually would. If it was a week, I wouldn't be bragging about it. I wouldn't be kind of like saying much in terms of that. So, room or backdrop of room is a little bit more respectable, less frat house, as I was kind of saying to you in terms of those things. But
not outside. It's not a frat house. It's like your usual working space.
Yeah, I did a podcast the other day outside. I was just like outside on a not a patio, like a veranda patio thing. I was just outside on the podcast in nature, and there was like kangaroos and shit fucking roaming around on the left. It was an experience. It was an experience from that. But we're definitely inside. I can't promise that like the noise quality will be good. I'm hoping that the headset mic that we're back on doesn't pick up anything going on in the background. Because we've got two things happening at this current moment in time. One, the construction people next door, like building that whole. Remember the building? I've spoken about this. I've spoken about this maybe in like when we're still on RXD. That whole building, it's now slowly starting to actually like take shape, which is hilarious. It's taken forever. Maybe by the time we get cancelled, we'll be finished. Like, that's kind of what I'm thinking. But
you're gonna give us that long?
Well, yeah, fuck. But the construction workers have decided to bring like a boombox or some shit to work now.
Yeah,
and they are jamming, like from 7, 8ish in the morning till like 4, 5 p.m. That thing's just cruising. Now, fine, do whatever you want, dude. Like, I wouldn't want to be outside in this humidity, fucking laying concrete and shit. That's not for me. Definitely not for me. I would literally melt and do what you want. However, some of the fucking music taste is atrocious. It's just dog shit in terms of that. It's not good in any shape or form. So you may hear some of that kind of happening at some stage. And considering I have like a triple pane glass, they're cranking the tunes, as you could clearly tell.
Just the whole neighborhood just held hostage by the stereo choice.
Yeah, whatever they're deciding to do in terms of that. But the bigger concern or the bigger thing that you may hear at some stage, like when you send iMessages and it does the whole like swoosh, the swoosh that goes off every now and then. You know what I'm talking about? All right. Anyways, long story short, remember I told you about this whole like the James brain concept that I like was playing around with, like the idea and all that. Thanks to my father, and credit where credit is due, because fucking he's the IT nerd. We have connected it to iMessenger.
Oh, God,
dude, it's insane. So, there's different commands and prompts and shit like that you have to start with depending on what you wanted to do. But for example, like I can access this call it a secure container, which is only populated with information that I want. So like I'm just putting a whole bunch of shit in there that I've researched and learned and all my notes and like that type of shit. So it's only access to me. It's in a container. It sits there, and I can iMessage the MacBot and get a reply of what I require. So like I've been just like fucking around and be like, ask. So you got to give it a prompt. So I go like, ask what is mobility, dude, and it cranks out this whole thing that comes back. So essentially, I can now talk to this thing like from anywhere in the world off my iMessenger.
So instead of being reliant on what it finds or has available to it from the internet, you've supplied everything that you want it to be able to provide.
So the idea behind it is essentially to have no outside influence. The only influence that I wanted to have is what I populated with. So if it's, if it's a dosing structure that I run, or a protocol that I run, or like a training method or training ideology like I run, like I've populated it, and I will continue to populate said container with that information only. So it will only be able to find answers from that information. It won't go outside. It's not a chat GPT, for example. Like, it's not going to do what we call
it's
like
not
an
an
LLM.
open AI model.
No, it's not
Yeah.
open AI. It's literally a closed container.
It's your digital notebook,
brain.
essentially.
Yeah, it's my digital note. It's my digital. So I call it like a librarian. Like, that's actually what I'm kind of doing. It's like I have the ability to call upon the librarian to find all of my data and what I've kind of learned. And like, because as I've gone through courses, as I've gone through teaching things, I take a lot of notes, and then I put that aside into protocols, and I build all that up. I now have that freely and readily available at any and all times via iMessenger. It's insane. It's fucking wild.
It's terrifying. And luckily to the world and the internet that it is closed and contained and not just out there.
It's like, where did you find his manifesto? Well, like, just prompt end of world and just see like this manifesto come through on like the iMessage. That would be hilarious.
For some reason, he just has it under action plan.
Yeah. But here's the thing, right? And here's the hilarious thing behind this. One, I actually saw someone the other day, kind of like a, I want to say business coach, but whatever, business coachy type vibe in the industry, and probably one of the better ones in my opinion. Like, not the whatever. They all have their pros and cons in terms of these things. And he was talking about like the emergence of AI, as we've kind of we've been talking about a little bit, the emergence of AI moving into coaching business, and his words were, most coaches are wasting their time doing it because they're not at a system scale that requires it. And I thought that was such a actually a really smart concept or smart comment to make, because I agree. At the end of the day, like, the technical deck, and what we refer to kind of like technical deck, is the combination of softwares that you use, or the technological kind of interventions that you use, for most coaches is shit. It's like three things. It's WhatsApp, Google Sheets, and Instagram. That's it.
Honestly, it reminds me of the podcast we did. I couldn't recall the number, but that we talked about building out an exercise library. If it's if it's worth it. It reminds me of that, because the other day I saw a one of the coaches app that has the exercise library, but also displays it in a 360 view.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, that's cool. And then I thought about it. It was like, but I would never do that.
Yeah.
Like, for some, it's nice that somebody has that out there, and it's an option for that would be a benefit for a certain clientele. But then also just thinking about it is like 99.9% of people don't need that. And also, I don't know how long of a selling point that in isolation would be, but
it's not.
It brings it up to that of like, it's kind of the same thing of utilizing AI to the extent that it allows for, in the detail that it can be involved in it. It's not worth your time or scalability of the size and operation that you're currently running, similar to building out your own exercise library. For most coaches, it's not worth the time and effort that it goes into even get those recorded and uploaded, because most aren't operating at a level that makes the juice worth the squeeze.
Yeah, and I think that's where the decision making needs to come in when we think about it. Is like weighing up how much time this is going to take, and like, of that time that it's taking you, is like, how much money can you make not doing that and doing the thing that you're doing, or putting that time and effort into making what you're currently doing better. And I think where the big elements come into this is AI's got this whole craze in the current industry, and I think everyone's looking for the way to utilize AI that's going to make themselves obsolete. I think we spoke about this. I can't remember if I spoke about this, but this is a statement that I really kind of like. They're trying to use or create AI to make them essentially making themselves obsolete, taking away from their jobs. Like that's the incorrect way to look at this. The correct way to look at this is how can I create more efficiency with what I'm currently doing by utilizing tools that AI could do. Now, the problem with that is, and to be 100% honest, most people don't even know what they're trying to achieve. And like, so when I say this, it's trying to achieve within their weekly environment, within their work environment. What does their calendar look like? What does their structure look like? What does their timing look like? How much time do you spend per check-in? How much time do you spend per client? Like, you have to know all of that information to then be able to find out where your bottleneck is, to then be able to look at AI and go, this is my current bottleneck. What available do you have, or could we look at implementing or building that is going to impact in a positive way my bottleneck? Then you ask the question of how long is this going to take? It's going to take 10 hours of work. Now you got to ask the question of, is the 10 hours of work actually going to be beneficial for what I needed to do? Is it going to make me more effective? And then the last question, which is, to be honest, and I keep saying to be honest, but to be honest, 99% of the time, and I say this respectfully, you are not intelligent enough to use this thing, right? And what I mean by that is it's not an easy platform to run because you got to ask it really, really good questions. And the more information, the more prompts you do, finding that almost like coaching, like the really good coaches will probably be able to use AI very effectively because they'll be able to ask it better questions. The not so good coaches are not going to ask it good questions, and it's going to be like, summarize this fucking note for me. It's like you're not utilizing the capability, and fine, do what you want. But at the end of the day, like you have to know what you're doing, and to know what you're doing takes time. And in your current environment, if you're running, I don't know, 20 to 30 clients as online coach, dude, it's not worth your fucking time. You aren't at a position that scalability is required by utilizing a system like this to be integrated to build you up.
For some reason, I like to think about it like this because it came into my head, but always just, kind of thinking about, is it worth my time and effort? So fun fact, junior high, like 7th, 8th grade, like what, 12 through 14 or whatever, through high school, I took a woodworking class. So like shop class, metals, wood, all of that. I've worked on like building sites, a little bit of construction and shit like that. So I can do things. Most of the time, whenever I'm thinking about that, is it worth my time and effort, or can I buy the thing cheaper, quicker, and get it here tomorrow? And so the exact same thing, like I might have the skill set and maybe some of the tools to, make a shittier version of what I want quicker. But kind of same thing is like, is it worth the time and effort to try to create this myself? Or is it already available that I can just use that? And so that's kind of in building that out, because the same thing with getting the exercise history or the exercise library, I think about that, especially where we are right now with AI and being able to generate videos. We're seeing all over the internet of taking two action stars and putting them together and making a small little movie to it. It's it's hilarious, but it's going to get to the point where now I can put in create a 30-second lateral raise video for me. And it might not be it might not be exact, but it might be good enough. And thinking about it in the context of, okay, I went and built out a 50 exercise library. I had to record it. I had to cut it. I had to upload it. I had to do the voiceover. It took me 30 hours to get this done. And then in 2 months, this AI video comes and makes it obsolete.
Yeah.
And so it's all that time and effort. Did I waste that in trying to pursue something that I thought was going to give me an edge or benefit me whenever I just wasn't aware of what was already out there that I can utilize and put that time and energy more into something that is actually going to benefit my business, or that I'm going to going to be able to either save time, make money back, or be able to scale my business up because of it.
Yeah, and the questions we're asking here, I guess, at the end of the day is it effective? Isn't it an effective use of time? The way I really think about this is it's like tempo. It's like everyone can use tempo, and it's in every exercise, and like you can prescribe it as a coach and that. But there's a difference between effective tempo and tempo in an exercise. And hear me out in terms of the drawing out or the conclusion I'm getting to here is, like a lying leg curl, programming like a 2-second pause in, the end range, the position or your start range of kind of the lying leg curl. Like it's not really doing anything. It's not. Right. And it's kind of the same thing of, well, if I'm wanting to bring AI or bring in the system as approach into the business, it's like, look at the effective time that I have to do things. Right? Is my time at the point, or is my weekly schedule, I have 30 hours of work, that is my effective time. I have to get as much done in that. If you've got an extra, 2 fucking hours a day and you want to go and do this, the question you got to ask yourself is the effectiveness of that time. Is it going to be spending time fucking around with an AI bot or some shit? Or could you maybe go and study for 2 hours? It's like, I'm going to argue that the study for 2 hours is probably going to be more effective because down the line, you increase your capital to some extent. It's not, and I say this in a non-arrogant way, it's not that hard to manage heavy client loads. It's not. Like, you should be, if you're thinking about integrating these types of systems to create more time efficiency, you should be sitting at the like above 50 clients a week mark. Like, that's it. Seriously. That's when you can start looking for efficiency and time. Below that, you've got an effort problem. You've got a work problem. You don't work hard enough. Quite simply.
To that, or you're not organized in a way where it makes you more efficient at that lower client number. Because to something we've talked about previously, like something as simple as your check-in days. It's not for your clients. It's not, oh, you can just submit your check-in whenever you want. But for a coach that, as at a lower scale, they might currently be operating on that. And so it is very inefficient that they haven't understood that this is supposed to separate that hour by hour like they were doing in the gym where, they have these random ass gaps because they're working around somebody's schedule. The freedom of online is putting it within a convenient schedule that you can work. So even off of that, it's thinking about, I can be more organized in how I'm setting this up without still ever touching AI. It's just, I need to better evaluate, and to your point, like going through these audit processes of your systems and evaluate, do I know what the issue is? Because AI is not going to help me find the issue if I don't understand my own systems to be able to explain it. So in that, even at a small scale, you can look to, okay, can I be more efficient here? And now this is going to take my random times where I'm getting distracted in between the check-ins or just waiting around, where it's more efficient because now you have block time that you're going through check-ins similar to yours. At that smaller scale, when we're discussing scalability, you're more likely to see the coach that is disorganized in that sense because they transferred from a system that operated like that, and they're working based on a system that they know instead of refining the system for the opportunities that moving from an in-person to an online creates. And same to this, of that scalability of being able to move something where a large system or client model is going to benefit from the use of AI. But until we build up to a time that we're really pulling that in, there can be efficiencies that we can find in an organization to kind of self-create that without spending the time of trying to learn AI to try to make it useful, instead of just looking at, hey, is there a better way that I can just organize my systems to do the thing that I'm actually trying to create, which is give me time back so I'm not dependent or reliant on everybody's schedule.
Now, I mean, let's flip the script to a certain degree here. Instead of shitting on people, maybe like, and that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm going to give some, like, hopefully some tangible or some actionable things that you could possibly do if you wanted to do this. The first step that I would do, right, is in this current market and what we're going through is we see like an LLM, so a large language model, like a ChatGPT, a Claude, for example. So that's the Google variation. We see that element, and it's funny how the shift has kind of occurred, or the marketing and the advertising has occurred from using ChatGPT to now, and you may have seen it, like there's this other element to it, which is called like coding or Claude Code, or like Open Claude. Like it now falls into coding aspects of things. Now, Claude Code has come along, or Claude has come along and shaken up the market, shook the market.
Shaken, past tense, shook the market, present tense.
Fucked everyone up. Has come and fucked everyone up, and has brought in this like dummies variation of coding. And what I mean by it's like you can literally tell it what you want it to do, and it has some pre-built to what we call skills, which then can create what we call agents, blah blah blah, in terms of these things. But you can tell it what skill you want it to make, so it will make and code the skill to then be able to use the skill on a frequent basis for tasks, essentially. So you can like code like a virtual assistant, for example, in certain ways. But so we've seen like this movement into more like the coding element of things, and like how can you make me a VA or shit like that. But we've seen kind of this movement away from the utilization of, or maybe the conversation around the utilization of like the chat GPT, the LLM version, where you would ask it to do things like that type of shit. That seems to be happening because we've worked out that we can create mini versions of this to do certain tasks that would be more effective. So where I would start, if you were interested, is maybe that, and to try and maybe look at bottlenecks within your business, etc. Go on your next walk. Okay, the next walk that you go on, put your headphones in, go to your phone, hopefully use an iPhone and not a fucking piece of shit Android, because I hate Google right now. I want to burn Google to the ground at this very moment in time in my life. Hopefully it's not an Android. Go to your voice memo or whatever. No, like, yeah, I would go voice memo, no, not speech to text. Go to voice memo, or you could do like you could open up Zoom on your phone if you wanted to, and bring that down. You could do, what are the other ones that will do some form of like transcribing of the backend? Any other software that will run a voice to memo standpoint, or like a recording, where you can voice note it to yourself if you wanted to, and then play it, and you're going to get the trans. The goal is to get the transcript at the end of the day, is what you're looking for. Go on your next walk and talk about yourself, everything you do, every process. And this is the hard part, right? Caveat, sorry, to go some certain ways. Caveat, if you cannot do this part, you have no fucking right to be trying to optimize your business using an AI. You need to sit down and think about your business to start with. And I think that's the caveat, and you'll understand why I've said that when I go into this. When you go on your next walk, or if you walk around the house like an idiot like I do, and just kind of thinking to yourself or talking to yourself, do this. Talk about yourself. Tell this voice memo everything about you, from your background, your history, what you've done in terms of like careers. Give it everything of you. Then go into your business, what your business is, what target you look at, what niche, what avatar. Fucking like talk about everything in your business in terms of what problem you try and solve, right, as a coach. Off the back end of this, the secondary part into the business, and this is the part that I'm saying, if you don't know that beginning part, this is not going to, you're fucked. You can't do this, and you should kind of be you should be doing a lot more other things, the basics. You should be doing the foundations. Funny that I brought it back in from last week. You should be doing the foundations within your training before you go to the more advanced stuff. What you need to do is you speak out exactly to a fucking T how your check-in process works. So client submits check-in, and you go as in-depth as you can, down to I open my Mac computer and go to Google Chrome, or like whatever it is. Like, as the more information you give, the more in-depth you are, the better you're going to be able to get the outcome of this. And you're going to run through your entire process. And the way I see this, because I am also touched in the head and I think about everything like this, is how do I do A to B to C to D to E, like everything, to the point of when I sit down at my desktop, it's like I touch my mouse. My mouse goes to the top right hand corner to open up. That's how I think. It is infuriating. Just, you don't want to live in my brain, but that's exactly how I think, and that's how you have to speak these steps out. Right? You're now going to just keep this voice note going, and you're going to go through all this, and then what you're going to do by the end of this, you're going to have hopefully voice noted or have in an audible form your entire process of how you do things, step to step process of how you're going to. And again, if you don't think about this, or if you've never thought about this, that's your first problem. If you don't have a scope of practice, if you were to give how you do things like a manual to someone else, that's what you're trying to create here. It's a manual of how you do your business, right? You're going to have got that all out there. You are going to then transcribe this. So you're going to get the transcription from it. You can either, again, whatever software you use, hopefully it spits out a transcription. You can use Mac Whisper if that's a really cool one that does transcribing. Really cool tool, actually. You can get the transcript from that. What you're then going to do, you're going to go to ChatGPT or Claude or whatever the fuck you want. Cool. I would use Claude in my opinion because it's just better. ChatGPT is pretty cool as well, depending on which model you run. But anyways, go to that. And you are going to literally type in the simple, around a prompt of, I have never used this before. I have no idea what I'm doing. I have spoken and explained every part of my life and my business to you. Please read the transcript below. And can we come up with a solution or an optimization of my time to make me more effective within my business? And you're going to paste the transcript in. And you're going to see the result that comes off the back end of this. Because the result that comes off the back end of this is going to be something pretty awesome that has got fuck all to do with making agents and AI optimization and shit. It's very likely going to give you where your bottleneck is and where you're fucking up. It's likely going to be like, this is where you could become more efficient. How do you schedule your time in your calendar? Do you do it on a daily basis? Do you do it on a Sunday and take half an hour and set up your entire week? What do you do? Like things like that. That's how you create time efficiency. And with that whole exercise, you're going to start getting better ideas of where you can become more time effective and time efficient just by doing that. But as I said, and I've said this multiple times, problem is if you don't have a step-by-step, if you don't have the manual, you're fucked. Start there. Start with the manual at the end of the day.
And to make this relevant on kind of two sides of it, from the university recreation side, because this is something that we deal with and something that we're actually, my team is going through currently. So we're looking at writing SOPs, standard operating procedures for the department, looking at, hey, what does each position do? What are the major events? How do we run reports? What reports are we looking for? What are our key performance indicators? Who are our partners? All these things of how does this thing run when somebody new comes in? Because that literally just happened where the two coordinators in the program, they'll be at a year this summer. I'll be at 6 months this summer. So, big sweeping clean house, everything kind of came through where just by chance, all three of us came into the position or into our positions. And the leadership kind of realized nobody has the historical context anymore. And so they're like, oh shit, we need to create this. So exactly that of we're looking at developing an SOPs for the program, but also individual areas. And it's exactly that of, hey, if one, how does this run? It's asking yourself instead of you're the person that just does stuff and don't really have to think about it because you've always just done it. You're having to explain it. You're having to create the manual. And in that, what you have to do is you start revising, you start auditing, you get a second set of eyes with AI to see, like, does this even make sense? Am I missing something because how close I am to what it's been? And it's not relying on, well, we've always just done that. That's my favorite thing in higher education is you come into a place that has historical context and they're like, yeah, we've always done it like this, so we've never thought about it. And it's like, from an outside perspective, have you ever thought about this? No, we haven't, because we've never needed to. That might actually save us so much time and energy and funding on that. But it's that reflection in going through and creating that manual, creating that SOP to better understand what it is. And then, as you said, you actually have it written out. So now you can take that manual and use it in a lot of different ways. If you do want to go into AI, if you want to expand your team, this is something that we've talked about is you looking at the scalability is how do you ensure quality under your brand name? If your vision is to expand your brand, now you're not relying on yourself, you're relying on others to carry that quality. How are they going to know that quality if you've just been like, hey, make sure you're doing good with your clients? Like, okay, my perception of what good is to your perception might be very, very different.
It's it's a very relevant point in terms of this. So there's two very relevant points. One, as online coaches, and we have discussed this, touched this at a point. The biggest problem I find is not treating it like a business. That's in my opinion, that is a big bottleneck, a big barrier of entry within coaches is they don't treat this like a business. Right? Now, the secondary part of that, and the thing that I want to draw comparison to, because this doesn't, and by saying it not treating like a business, I don't want to sound like I'm taking a stab at anyone, but let's remember this. The university you work for is a very big fucking business. And just to give an example, millions of dollars, right? They haven't got an SOP. Right? So what I mean by this and what I'm getting at is don't feel disheartened if you don't have it, but be able to identify the fact that you do not have it and put something in action, put something in place. Exactly like you just said, like it came to the point and it hasn't happened before because they haven't had to use it. But now they've suddenly been like, oh, fuck. Like this is a thing. Like we need to educate staff. We need to create the system. We need to create this. It's like you're in the same position as the bigger business, but you now have the opportunity to treat yourself like a business and to do the things that are actually going to benefit you in the long run by building the system out. It is a very important tool to do as a singulatory online coach, because as you mentioned, it's going to give you clarity on what you do, but it's also going to be a multitude of uses, or have a multitude of uses off the back end of it.
It's such an important tool to develop that we in higher education literally have in our staff trainings and icebreakers. It reminds me of peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Essentially what it is you get a group together and they have to explain in order how to create or how to draw a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, how to put it together. But it's piece by piece that's transferring over. And so it gets them thinking of a way, how am I going to describe something? We'll a lot of times use this for reports, because if I get a report that says squat bar is bad, like, which bar? Where? The reading a report shouldn't make me then have 20 more questions to just get to the answer. It should have all the solutions. And that peanut butter and jelly model is having somebody speak out, tell another person where they're either writing it down or it's going through order of like drawing a picture, how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And then literally at the end, your group goes through and then the person acts it out reading it for the first time. So, if it's spread jelly and peanut butter, it's like, okay, it's going on the table because that's what you told me.
It's such a good exercise. So we went through the similar exercise when I was a paramedic because we have to write patient report forms. The patient report form, if you fucked it up, it's like that's a negligence case. Like that's how that and fair enough. I'm lucky enough that I was exposed to that type of thinking, and my brain does work in that manner. But it's literally like we would go with received call at, and we'd have to put the time. Drove to location, responded to location, and if something happens on the response location, got update. Like we have to write every thought and decision that comes through, down to arrived on scene. As arrived on scene, window shield assessment gave us XYZ. This is it. From there, gathered XYZ equipment. First patient, XYZ. Like you have to go in depth as if you are a person who has never, ever seen, read, done the task before, and you have to be as precise as possible for them to be able to recreate exactly what that is. And that's, I don't know if a lot of people know the peanut butter and jam or peanut butter and jelly kind of task tool teaching education, but it's essentially you have to explain how you would make that sandwich. And it's always an interesting thing when you watch it. The first time most people do, the first person who does it, they suddenly realize like, oh fuck, I fucked up. I was supposed to go like in depth and not like you said, spread, and you get some random person spreading on the table. It's like, no, you were supposed to say, unscrew the peanut butter container. That's part of it.
Grab the bread. Be like, shit. Yeah. Didn't even think about that.
Yeah, grab the bread. It's like, hold the knife. And then you got the dude holding the knife by the blade. It's like little shit like that. Mm-hmm. I remember going through that process, and it's like, and it was a massive eye opener for me. I'm like, oh, okay. Like details. And that's why I say, like, I think it's frustrating and takes a lot. But like, I literally think in an A to B to C steps of a lot of what I do. Like it is constantly going. I'm not slow because of it. I'm faster because of it. But I think in that way, in that manner, and in this scenario, it's very important to do.
Well, and as you said, it's treating it like a business. It's evaluating your business as a true business and not just like, oh, I get to train people on the internet for fun. It's well, you can do that, and you can definitely find success in that, but there's going to be limitations. There's going to be inefficiencies of what it could if you put it in more of a formal setting of thinking it or treating it as a business and doing things as a business. The benefit to working in a system is a lot of systems have a business approach in mind that you have to follow. Being your own boss, you have to create those for yourself. And a lot of people will kind of skip over that and just start doing stuff. And that's great. That handles the interaction, the day to day. But as the starting point of this conversation, are you to a point where you even need to use these greater systems, or can you just get better at how you run your business because you've never approached it like an actual business?
Yeah, it's the going to the highly complex movements before you can even do anything else. It's the trying to barbell back squat before you can even like counterbalance squat. Just counterbalance squat first, build that foundation up, and then kind of move forward from there. But it is, this is nowhere near kind of what I thought the podcast would go to. But I actually think that this is a goodie. This is a goodie from that because it is. Hopefully, it's a system, a business update. When people ask myself, you, the end of the stuff, like, what would you do in terms of business? How would you run the business? I'll be honest. I've never given the answer of what we've just kind of spoken about before because it's just kind of it's a natural instinct. Like that's what I assume should have been done. Yeah. But actually, that's an incorrect assumption. We need to build out the scope of practice.
Well, because you've never had to think about it because it's the way that you think.
Think,
But whenever again other eyes, other minds come into it, we can't assume that they're thinking or prioritizing or evaluating the same way that we do. So this is a way for you to audit yourself. And the other thing with it is like it shouldn't be like this isn't something that should take months. As you said, it should be something where you start talking through and you're able to lay it all out. If you don't know how you operate well enough to be able to do that, there's your starting point. Figure out what you do. Literally start taking notes on yourself and then start piecing it together. And the other thing with this is it's not a one and done manual. We put it on the shelf and it's there. It's something you're constantly having to pull out to reflect on, to put more information on. It's a living, breathing document because also you'll add something of, hey, now I'm using Google Chrome instead of Safari. You might just put that in. And since it's all transcribed, it can go in and change that, but that is an update and it's something that should stay active, that you're not having to go through and now pick it all out. The whole point of having this effective system, we put it in there, it can start evolving, replacing, developing things as you refine your processes, but it can't be something where it's just on the shelf collecting dust
dust.
or on your hard drive that we never look at again. It's something that has to be updated along with the update of what you're doing, and in that it should create those reflections. Why am I doing this? Am I just doing something to do something, or is it purposeful? There's tons of coaches that will kind of jump from one system to the next system because, hey, this is the latest or it has this feature and whatnot. Whereas through our conversations, you've changed platforms because it became a limitation for your ability to work, for your ability to process
Scale.
clients,
Yep.
time, scalability. Like, here's the reason we're moving on from this. And now I have to create a solution to this. It's not just jumping for this, for that.
Yep.
It's what's that intention that you're truly understanding. And because of that, you're trying to create solutions and update what your manual is.
Yeah, it's a constant evolution of the business. So, and again, every business, when you treat it like a business, is evolving on a day to day, on a month to month, on a week to week. Like all of these things kind of happen, and if you don't have that mindset, you're not going to be stagnant. But and fine, it's okay if you only get to 50 or 40 clients and like you're comfortable and you're happy there. Great, cool, sit there. There's nothing wrong with that. But I do think that this is an extremely worthwhile endeavor because you'll find a lot of holes in the system that you can fill to create more efficiency to provide better service, not just scale their business. I think that's a factor that we didn't touch on to a certain degree is the goal is to become better from a quality standpoint, not just do more. And all of this will really impact that element of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that
Sweet.
covers the
That
majority of it.
covers it.
Again, kind of went in a different direction that we planned, but I think there's a lot of value to this thought process and how you can audit your business, how you can refine your systems, how you can build your own personal SOP and treat
Yeah.
your business like a business.
Yep. Treat your business like a business. On that note, guys, we'll chat to you next week.